McGrady, my project piggybacks off backwards a little bit and focuses on safe connections for pedestrians from their origins to their destinations. For those of you who don't know Spring Grove Village, the land uses are very abundant in Spring Grove Village, but they're very segregated. You have the residential district in the north, and then you have an industrial, kind of a belt, and then you have your retail and shopping district in the southern end towards 75. So I broke that down and identified the pedestrian origins, which were the single family and residential district in the northern section of Spring Grove Village, and Winton Terrace, the public housing, which actually isn't in Spring Grove, but it draws a lot of pedestrians into the village. And from that, I identified the destinations. A small one is the neighborhood business district, and there are a lot of parks in Spring Grove Village. Hannaford Park, which is a small neighborhood park, and Salway Park, which has ball fields and is right south of the cemetery. And of course, the big pedestrian origin is the retail district. I identified it here as the proposed transit-oriented district because that's Joe's project, and he'll talk about that after me. And there's also a proposed park along the Mill Creek. So from that, I identified the main barriers, which were the wide roads, the railroad underpasses, the industrial district, and all the the things that people would not want to walk through. And as Becca identified, like the sidewalks that need to be improved, I thought about ways that pedestrians would feel safe about using and ways that only pedestrians could get to. So I began identifying what sidewalks should be improved, what sidewalks need to be added, and where pedestrian-only paths could be put in Spring Grove Village, which are mainly in the industrial area. My first proposal is this pedestrian and bike path through, it connects Estee to Mitchell, and it goes behind a few industrial buildings. There's it ranges from a 25-foot to a 15-foot right-of-way between the buildings. I broke that down into a 4-foot pedestrian path, a 6-foot bike lane, and a 4 to 6 tree planting or plant strip, and then also a 2 to 6 foot amenity space, depending on the width of the right-of-way in that particular section. And then that continues to connect to the Vandalia Avenue, which is actually a project continued from the groups that are working in Northside and South Cumminsville. You can see here that if implemented, the whole Vandalia Corridor regional scope would reach from Spring Grove Village all the way down to 74 in South Cumminsville. So that goes through the cemetery, and if you look here, this is the proposal. It's currently an abandoned railroad track for the whole region, but in Spring Grove Village it's an access road. It's currently paved, but it doesn't have sidewalks. It's just 25-foot pavement and about 10 foot of open space on each side. My proposal for that is on each side a 4-foot sidewalk, on one side a 5-foot bike lane, then the road would remain 25 feet of pavement, and then there would also be a 5-foot tree strip to kind of buffer between the parking lots and the industries. And then also to connect the Vandalia Avenue to the business district in the southern portion, I'm proposing a pedestrian-only path that cuts through between the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks and the Honda dealership down there. So, and then also for small improvements, I believe Becca also touched on this, but underpass beautification, and in general just sidewalk beautification, the elements that are so simple to take but can make the area so much more inviting, like improved lighting, plants, or tree strips, and just in general taking care of the condition of the underpass. And my final image is in the southern portion of Spring Grove Village, because I know there's destinations up in the northern part also, but I focus more on the southern part, the full potential of the pedestrian network, which is in the pink, and the bicycle network in the yellow. So, are there any questions?
Do you want to talk about your...
Oh, thank you. And for my implementation and funding portion, I know that the city isn't always, ready and willing to go out and do these small pedestrian projects for neighborhoods. So I looked for kind of grassroots organizations that took up and took the initiative. I found the Path Foundation in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a partnership between a community organization and the Atlanta city government. The Path maintains over 100 miles of trails. They focus mainly on recreational trails, but it's the same idea. It's a partnership. Path utilizes the grants through the city, and then the city can utilize the knowledge and time and dedication that the people who work at Path have. So, and they also promote trail etiquette, and with implementing bike lanes in Cincinnati, I know it's a big issue to have to educate all users of the roads to know their rights and how they should act towards other users. So